Merry Christmas, everyone. My Christmas gift to you is to give you not one, not two, not three, not four. What do you mean there's only four? So that's it? Just four. 4 recipes for the price of one video. So if this doesn't deserve a thumbs up, then that'll crush my holiday spirit. Just kidding. Not really. Maybe.
I guess we'll never know.
But today's food that we're making would be ordinary if we were still living in the Spanish colonial period. I say that because the dish that we're making today is a dish that comes from humble beginnings. Mechado. Because of that, let's pay homage to the food we're about to receive today. Before I get to the educational part of the video, I'd like to say that this will be my last video of 2020. If there's anything that we can all take away from this year, it's that 2020 was not fun at all. However, it brought to light many issues that show our true colors as humans and as individuals. There have been many struggles that have been recognized on a macro and most definitely on a micro level. But aside from all the downsides, we need to stay positive and find a light going into 2021. I'm wishing for a better 2021 for all of us, and I wish that we can all manifest a new year where we can rebuild ourselves as individuals and reconnect with our communities. Now let's get started. Mechado is something that you might see at a celebration. It's either that or Kaldereta, or Afritada, or Menudo. They're all very similar dishes that use tomato sauce as a base. And by the end of this video, you will all be graduating from being a bronze student to a silver student in learning how to cook any of these 4 dishes. I'd rank you guys higher to maybe gold or diamond status, but I'm not that great at cooking. I can only rank as high as I think I am as a teacher, so maybe silver. I know that there are much better cooks and chefs out there that are definitely on a whole different playing field than I am. But before we actually eat for celebrations, let's understand how it got here. Let's take a look at the struggle story of Mechado. It's crucial to understand the history of the indigenous Filipinos and how our ancestors' foods, cultures, and traditions were disposed of. They were shattered and abandoned as a direct result of colonization, oppression, and marginalization. Mechado cooked nowadays is nothing compared to how it actually came to be during the colonial era of the Philippines. I told you earlier how Mechado comes from humble beginnings. Let me try to explain that by using the origins of its name. Mechado was named after the Spanish word mecha, meaning wick. They named the dish like this because it's actually a method of meat preparation known as larding. Larding is a term for adding fat into a piece of meat. So they actually injected fat into the meat and it ended up looking like a little candle. Now the reason why meat is prepared using the larding method is because the beef that's being cooked isn't generally a fatty piece of meat. Most of the meat in the Philippines was very lean and it didn't really have a whole lot of fat marbling, which made it harder to cook. But because the cows here in the US allow us to have choices between select, choice, and prime beef, fat marbling won't be an issue, so therefore larding is not going to be necessary for this recipe. So now that we got the origin of its name out of the way, let's talk about its creation. During the colonial era, the cattle industry was non-existent. Beef was a delicacy, and the people who often ate well were the wealthy Spaniards. They were the ones that were eating the porterhouses and the prime ribs. If you were poor, you'd only get access to the parts of the cow that nobody wanted, such as the liver or the intestine. If you were lucky enough to get an actual cut of beef, it would most likely be the cheapest cut. This typically includes the round and the flank of the cow, which is the butt and the belly of the cow. These cuts were very lean and had gamier flavor. To put it in perspective, if you tried to cook a lean cut of round, it would be like chewing on a leather boot. But that's what was available to Filipinos back in the day, so they had to find a way to make a dish taste like something out of nothing. In my opinion, doing something like that is literally the artwork of a true chef. I mean, to go from eating a leather boot to overcoming that generational trauma and creating a tender, juicy piece of meat, that's real cooking to me. Anyone can go to the grocery store and buy meat, sauces, and flavoring powders. But to take literal scraps of what would be called unusable food and turn it into something delicious, that's what makes this dish humble. Let's go make it now. Here's what you'll need: fish sauce, light soy sauce, your choice of beef, potatoes, garlic, bay leaves, annatto, onion, beef bouillon, lemons, carrot, tomato sauce, red bell pepper, green bell pepper, and yellow bell pepper. You can make do with just red bell pepper and it'll be good just like that. But if you're looking to impress someone on a hot date and you're trying to get some panties wet, then you should add all kinds of flaring colors to this dish. Optional to add to the dish, frozen peas. Let's begin the mise-en-place by preparing the beef. I chose to use tri-tip because it's a popular dish that's often used for braising and it has plenty of fat to render out a ton of flavor into the dish. You're going to want to slice the beef into thick cubes. Place them in a large bowl to start the marinating process. The marinade is going to be very simple. All we're using is light soy sauce and lemon juice. You don't need a lot of the marinade, just massage the soy sauce and lemon juice into the beef cubes. Wrap it up and keep it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. While that's marinating, grab your chopping board and start preparing the bell peppers. You can slice, dice, julienne the bell peppers however you want, but just make sure that you remove all the bitter white pith. I went with chopping them baton style because it kinda gives the dish some elegance when plating the finished product. I know it's not really the type of dish that's plated to look like food from a fine dining restaurant, but who's to say that a poor man's dish can't show a level of class in it? I mean, it happens all the time in many restaurants nowadays. I'm pretty sure somewhere around the world there's a chef plating instant ramen with foie gras or 24 karat gold leaves. I don't know, I've seen many foods be elevated with the most unexpected methods in doing so. Anyways, continue preparing the vegetables. Here, we're just mincing the garlic and peeling off the skin from the carrot. Here, I'm slicing them as thin circular discs, which also helps make the plating look nicer. Then we'll dice the potatoes. It's up to your preference if you want to peel the potatoes. I like to keep the skin on because it gives the potatoes some texture at the end. Alright, lastly, dice up your onion, and then this is what your mise-en-place should look like. For this dish, I'm cooking everything with just the stock pot. You don't need anything else. We're going to be doing all the frying and braising in here. So we'll start by making some annatto oil. To do this, just heat up a neutral cooking oil like safflower or canola oil. Mix in the annatto seeds and stir it around to let the oil absorb its color. What this is going to do is it'll give the dish a pleasant, nutty flavor to it. Remove the annatto seeds and start searing the beef. For the love of what's right, do not go all in with the beef. Place them with ample space in between each other so that they sear properly. We're not trying to cook the beef through in this process, we're just doing this to give it some color on the outside. Take out all the beef once it's done, and then let's go in with the potatoes and carrots. The same for these, don't cook these through. We're just letting them get some color and absorb some of the rendered fat from the beef. Remove everything, and then we'll go in with the minced garlic and onion. Saute them well before you go in with the tomato sauce. Make sure you stir it well so that you mix in those burnt pieces from the sides and the bottom of the pot. Bring the sauce to a boil, and then we're going to add some water, our beef bouillon, and some bay leaf. Once the sauce is boiling hard, the last thing we'll do is add the beef back to the mix and add just enough water to cover up the beef. Bring it back to another boil, and then we'll turn the heat down to a medium-low. Put a lid on it and let's slow cook this for about 90 minutes. Try not to lift the lid up too often, otherwise you're going to let out a ton of moisture. While we're waiting for the mechado to boil for 2 hours, let me talk about the other 3 tomato dishes that you'll encounter in Filipino cuisine. There's mechado, the one that we're making right now, afritada, which is usually made with chicken, kaldereta, which can be made with beef or goat, and finally menudo, which can be cooked with beef or pork. Now keep in mind, every one of these dishes can be cooked differently depending on the region that you go to in the Philippines. For the sake of simplicity and uniformity, I'll be using one common recipe for these 4 dishes. Let's start with afritada. Afritada can be cooked with chicken, bell peppers, potato, carrot, and tomato sauce. And it uses the same cooking directions that we've used so far when making our mechado. Mechado is cooked the same way, but instead of chicken, we're going to be substituting that with soy marinated beef. Kaldereta uses the same cooking method as mechado and afritada, but there's 2 main ingredients that make this dish stand out from the others. The first ingredient is chili pepper. So if you're at a Filipino party and then you can't find out which one's which, just know that kaldereta is a little bit spicier than the others. The second ingredient is the one that throws people off, and it makes people disgusted at it because it's something called liver spread. To be frank about it, it's a puree made out of liver. The closest thing that I can think of that would be similar to this would be pate, just like the ones that you would find at a banh mi restaurant. Okay, the last tomato dish is menudo. Menudo follows the same format as vegetables and tomato sauce, but we're using pork or beef for this. Here's where people get scared of menudo because the surprising ingredient that you find in it is liver. Menudo is popular in Mexico. They use beef in their stew, but instead of using the liver, they use tripe, which is also known as the intestines. Now that that's over, I'd like to congratulate all of you for sticking around and learning how to make all 4 of these dishes. Here are your silver badges. You are no longer a novice, consider yourself an advanced beginner. After about 90 minutes, this is what your beef is going to look like. It'll be fork tender and can be pulled apart like barbacoa. At this point, all we're going to do is add the vegetables back into the mix and let the bell peppers soften and absorb the flavors. I am using fish sauce to taste. There's no exact measurement I can give you, but just add however much you feel like you need to meet your preference. Submerge the peppers and close it with the lid. After about 20 minutes, the mechado is fully cooked, fully flavored, and ready for plating. Serve it over some rice and you're done. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and share this video with your friends and family, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, stay hungry, fam.